Greetings, brothers and sisters, and other Hollywood celebrities dropping like flies.
They're dropping like flies.
Listen, people are dropping like flies out there.
I am
Boop.
pissed off.
We're dropping like flies around here.
We're dropping like flies here.
Jeez, sir, 2 more just went down. Dropping like flies.
Too many people around here been dropping like flies already, and where's that getting us, huh? Nowhere. Fast.
Biden's being Biden's being an extremist.
Crush that fly.
So there's a weird Jaime Foxx tweet or Instagram post. I'm going to cover that in just a moment. There's some controversy with RFK Jr. and his take on Israel and Palestine, and I'll get to that tomorrow on my other channel, and I'll get to some of the comments. And I look forward to sort of addressing that controversy. But I want to start here with the clone Tyrone, and my wife and I watched this movie last night. And it's a pretty good movie for a Netflix movie, entertaining somewhat. There's some funny bits. But it's loaded with truther narratives. And this is spoiler alert for all the things. I'm going to cover 2 other things on the Disney Channel, Guardians of the Galaxy and The Secret Invasion. Those I'm going to get into more detailed explanation. But the clone Tyrone had mind control. There's a period where Jaime Foxx talks about conspiracies that are true, and he brings up the big event in 2001. He says, that event was a conspiracy, and then there's a joke there. But there's mind control and experimentation on people in this movie, particularly black people. There's an underground base and all these other things. And it's got racial implications in the movie, but there are things that we know to be true that are at least theories out there, and they go in on these theories. All of this stuff, right? The mind control, the experimentation, the secret society, the genetic manipulation, and clones and things like this. And so, with Jaime Foxx having his issues, and then I'll get into his story after I cover the other Disney stuff here, or the Disney stuff. And there's 2 things here, because there's symbolism and there's these theories that are out there and how mainstream media is embracing them. So in the Clone Tyrone, the Guardians of the Galaxy, and the Secret Invasion, the plots and the script and the concepts in these movies and TV shows are all based in truther stuff. They use truther terms, all these things. I'll show you this in a moment. And they're constantly doing that. And, it's something where, it's like they say all these things that they don't like conspiracy theorists, and then they use our narratives. Oftentimes they twist our narratives against us, or they make themselves the victims, or they take our terms and our way of expressing, various things, and they integrate them into their stuff, but like it's just, they're evil, like they're evil Disney and evil Netflix and, hyper liberal and, just part of the beastly system, because they can't come up with their own concepts and their own narratives and their own plot lines and storylines. And so they steal from the truth community and yet still demonize us in the process. It shows you how, lame they are, because they don't have their own stuff that's worth watching. They can't produce their own content, which we've known for a while. So let's go to the Guardians of the Galaxy thing here.
Into the system of those sentries out there. They are good people like you. I'm certain of it. And if I just had an opportunity to speak to them.
They're corporate shills, you idiot. They're not going to listen.
They will listen if I speak to them from my heart.
The Guardians of the Galaxy, again, spoiler alert, in terms of everything I say here about all this stuff. If you're interested in watching it, then you can skip forward till past the, where you'll see images of articles about Jaime Foxx. The Marvel movies and TV shows are completely lost. They've gotten so woke and they've gotten so bad. Guardians of the Galaxy isn't as bad as the last Ant-Man movie or the last Thor movie, but they're all weird and they don't really hang together. It's like they're in some sort of acid trip of a world, right? And they don't even care about quality anymore. Like there's an example of this is 5 of the Guardians of the Galaxy are in different colored spacesuits, and there's a joke where the main character is talking to the Chris Pratt character is supposed to thinks he's having a private conversation, but they have all these different buttons so they can have private dialogue. It's just stupid, right? Why would they have that? Why would they have different colored spacesuits? Only because of this one joke, and the jokes just fall flat. Like I don't think I laughed once during the whole movie. The original Guardians of the Galaxy was actually funny and a well-made movie, and it's just fallen. Of course, the guy James Gunn is, has got a lot of issues and was hammered by the truth community, and now he's running DC or something like that. But the Marvel Universe has imploded on itself. The movies are just not good. They're lost. They don't have a direction. The way they ended the Avengers series and going woke and Captain Marvel stuff, and like it just fell apart. Black Panther, all these things. And they don't have quality writers or whatever's going on there. I don't even know. But what they've done here in these latest 2 shows is there's a lot of symbolism, like Illuminati symbolism, occult symbolism, and I'm not even going to get into that. And then these truther narratives. They're using terms like, shill and things like this. The whole movie centers around the raccoon character, Rocket, and his being genetically modified. And, this dystopian mind control, genetic manipulation, and all these things. Things that are very prevalent in the truth community. They've taken truth community narratives, and we've seen this before, but now they did it back to back. I'm going to show you a bunch of clips from The Secret Invasion, but if you pulled out the truther stuff out of these movies, there would be no movie. The plot is, it has to have these truther narratives in them. So let's go to the Secret Invasion.
They're all saying we had something to do with Moscow. Well, I call bull on that. There's no way that Moscow attack was committed by Americans. This has got false flag written all over it.
But I don't want you to worry, okay? I'm going to do everything in my power to protect you, to keep this video and, all the copies that I made under wraps. But I can't have you running around spouting wild conspiracies, and I certainly...
So the conspiracy was, of course, true, because Dick Cage is the hero. He gets to have them. And they mentioned false flags twice. This involves Russia. I'll talk about the narrative. I just want to get through these clips first.
Confirmed that this was, in fact, an official Russian act. President Vladimir has strenuously denied responsibility.
Oh, he strenuously denied it. Then I guess we're all right then. President Vladimir is a bald-faced liar, and I've got 30 dead Russians on a motorway to prove it.
We cannot rule out the possibility of a false flag attack.
Did you take a stupid pill with your breakfast this morning, Admiral?
And then at the end of the movie, Nick Fury is making out with a reptilian alien shapeshifter who's been posing as his wife for years now. And they go for it here. I mean, it lasts a long time. It's very uncomfortable. And it's preceded by some really bad dialogue, horrible dialogue. And Nick Cage, Samuel L. Jackson is not a good actor. He's just he's been in a lot of bad stuff. And, he has been given credit for, I guess, Pulp Fiction and some of these other movies, but he's just not a good actor. He's like a B-level actor. And, this Nick Fury character got wrecked in the Captain Marvel movie. And it's just pathetic. Like, he was supposed to be this big, tough guy, and he lost his eye because an alien cat scratched him. It's like weird stuff. And the movie was so bad. And he got destroyed by the woke feminist, whatever stuff was going on there. And in this movie, it's a carryover from that movie, or this TV show. There was these Skrull characters that are an alien race that are reptilian in nature and are shapeshifters, and they're stronger physically than human beings. So there's a couple of problems with it. And, I just looked up I searched the Secret Invasion, and they have these questions that Google asks. They have these preset questions, and one of them was, why is the Secret Invasion so bad, right? And so they have these scroll characters. When you have shapeshifters, and this has been done in movies lately, that, let's say shapeshifting was possible. It would take a lot longer than a few seconds, right? And it would be a lot more painful because you would have to rearrange bone structure and all these things. But the bigger problem is shapeshifters are able to shapeshift into clothing. They are able to shapeshift their clothing as well, right? So like that's just stupid. Like it wouldn't work that way. But these shapeshifters, so these alien reptilians, and I want to say one more thing about the clone Tyrone, that there's a part of the movie where Kiefer Sutherland comes in. He represents sort of the man. He's the fixer to kind of clean up the mess. And he says that America is an experiment by the founding fathers who were slave owners and lived in their big mansions, but put out this idea of equality and these other things, and then they died off and left a big mess for everyone else to figure out. And with that, there is the Secret Invasion as well. They focus on how humanity is violent and hostile and can't get along. The flawed nature of humanity. And so in the Secret Invasion, these characters who, because they can assume any shape, they obviously are going to take governmental leaders. And they've, there was the good Skrulls that were working with Nick Fury, but he abandoned them after what happened in the Avengers movies, the Thanos snapping his fingers and all that stuff. And so they've turned on him and the people, and there's a million Skrulls, and they now occupy leadership positions around the world because they're shapeshifters and they can do that. They also can take on the memories and the things that the minds of the people that they shapeshift into. And so they would win because they're stronger and they are shapeshifters, right? Like they got a real unfair advantage. And so what they do is start off by having all these false flag attacks where the shapeshifters are trying to create World War III between Russia and America. And the shapeshifters are impervious to nuclear power, nuclear, waste sites. Like there's some old nuclear power plants in Russia and nuclear sites that are too radioactive for people, and that's where they have their bases. And I talked about this in my book, The Choice. There seems to be a narrative out there that there is like an alien race that wants to occupy the world. And I'm just throwing this out there as a theory, but there's some case to be made here. And they are much more tolerant. The Great Usurpers in my book, The Choice, was about this, that there was these aliens that are, they need a more radioactive planet, like they've already gone through their nuclear wars, and they live in a highly radioactive planet. And they've, adapted to tolerate it, but they couldn't live on Earth the way it is. And the way that you would invade, if there was an alien race to invade this planet, and I believe this has been done in various ways, in various higher developed beings have had souls come down here from different places in the universe. Some of them may be benign, some of them are, more evil or whatever. And that's the way you would invade. You would have souls be born from a certain region in the universe, and then you would terraform the place to make it acceptable for, habitation of these alien creatures. And that's what the Skrulls want to do. They want to create a nuclear war where people couldn't live, but, they could wipe out humanity, and then they would be able to populate this planet on their own. And so there are these existing theories about that. Of course, there was the movie They Live, and all these things. The idea of the reptilians, these are all truth or narratives. The Skrull and the Kree were around in Marvel Universe previous comic books for years. And they battled out in they're a part of the Guardians of the Galaxy as well. I mean, it's all tied together. And the Kree beat the Skrulls, and there's some level of, one's more evil than the other, and depending on which comic book you read or whatever. But these shape-shifting aliens have a huge advantage because they can shapeshift, and they can assume, they could be with you, and you wouldn't even know it. You think it's a beloved family member, and they've replaced that person with a shape-shifting, alien being, so reptilian being. They have a huge unfair advantage is what I'm saying. There's a character, Emilia Clarke, I just had to look up her name. She was famous for her Game of Thrones character I never watched. I could never sit through that. Never got through the first episode. I watched bits and pieces of it. It just looked really god-awful. But she was a blonde girl, dragon girl in that, whatever, in that TV show. And she's really weird. I've seen her in a few things. She's got a very odd face, almost like she's a rodent that came to life. And, just like her face has either got an extensive plastic surgery or there's something just odd about it. And she's a very annoying kind of a character in person. And she's the daughter of the leader of the Skrulls that was the leader of the Skrulls in the Captain Marvel series. And, they're doing genetic manipulation because Nick Fury is supposed to be 10 steps ahead of everyone else. Like he's just this genius of a military and, strategical genius, right? And he was using these lizard people to spy for him. And the lizard guy says your whole success is based in using us to do your dirty work. Like he does this whole rant of like Nick Cage wasn't anything until they started helping him. And this is the leader's daughter is this Emilia Clarke character. And Nick Cage used these Skrulls to gather blood samples from all the Avengers. Right? Like, so he took blood samples, but he used these reptilian creatures that are warlike and, have been, sort of refugees of the universe and have contaminated every place they've gone and tried to take it over. And he trusted them to gather up all these Avengers' DNA. And when he did that, one of the guys who was gathering up the DNA realized that they could use the DNA and become these Avengers level superheroes by using the DNA. And so they've created this machine to enhance themselves even more so they'll be like superhero-like. And they are trying to pressure Nick Cage to give him the DNA. And Nick Cage does this at the end of the movie. And instead of collecting the DNA of all the superheroes and putting it in separate vials, he has it all mixed together in one like vial of blood, right? Which makes no sense at all, right? And the fact that like he used his poor judgment to include these untrustworthy reptilians in the gathering of this, very powerful DNA. It's just like, this whole narrative has been blown. Like he's just like a putz now. And he was in the last Captain Marvel movie. He can't adapt from the thing that happened before, and he's old and out of touch, and he's made all these bad decisions to create problems in the future. And so at the end of the movie, this girl, this Emilia Clarke, who was killed, but she used the machine to enhance herself. So she comes back to life, like, unfortunately. And she's proposing as Nick Cage as the villain who's killed off all of his crew for no apparent reason and made a lot of bad decisions himself. And he's gonna enhance himself with the superhero DNA, but he brings Nick Cage, or he leaves Nick Cage in the chamber with him, not knowing that it's this reptilian girl who was, who sort of betrayed him. And they both get all of these superhero DNA. They get all of it. The Captain Marvel DNA, Hulk, and all these things. And they have this sort of epic, sort of laughable fight at the end. And now this Emilia Clarke character, who is very annoying and like just shouldn't exist, is now the most powerful superhero in the Marvel universe. she has all the DNA of the Avengers and can transform and use whatever Avenger when it suits her, right? And she has a conversation with this woman who's an English actress who plays in the The Crown. She was maybe the Queen in The Crown or something. She was somebody, but she's kind of famous. You recognize her, and she plays the head of MI6. And they have these conversations throughout where women where women are saying, two women are talking and they're saying, how they always have to clean up men's messes and these things. Like there's always, these feminist underlying type of narratives. But what these three movies have in common, other than having to use truther narratives to hold their plot lines and their storylines together, is they don't have a worldview. Like their worldview is, and I say this all the time, that men are bad, white men are particularly bad, and we all suffer, the people and the characters in the show, whether they're people of color or women or LGBTQ, all suffer and are, suffering the man and the white man and these things, right? Like that's this dialogue that's about that, but there's no solution. There's no, okay, we're moving away from the white man dominated world. What does that look like? Where's that based in? What's the philosophy? What's your solution? What's your, and it's really moving away from the white man dominated, the white man centric hero in these TV shows and movies that existed up until this point. And so it's Hollywood putting together stories, and our stories are important. Our narratives are important. Our stories make up our internal world. And they don't have a point of view. They don't have a backup plan. They don't have a system. Like they just want to replace the white guy with a woman or a person of color or someone from the LGBTQ, the former, hero that was there, Superman hero, whatever, right? The classic white, Christian hero that was the centerpiece and the protagonist in so many movies. They want to replace him, complain about the white guy, and then make basically the same kind of movie, but it doesn't hang together because there's no the universe they're creating doesn't have, there's no real patriotism in there. There's no, there's nothing. It's just like there's no, all right, what does it look like when you create your own movies? When you make movies that aren't, just a copycat of the movies we've been watching for years. And the narratives and the templates that go in there. Like, what's your version? I would like something new. Like, what does it look like when women run Hollywood or black people run Hollywood or, for years, gay people have been highly influential in the modeling industry and in Hollywood, but now they're able to be characters and be lead characters in shows and TV things, right? And movies and things. But, what does that look like? Like, what does it look like when you get away from the old paradigm? And there's no new paradigm. It's just complaining about the old one and then making basically the same movies, but they're not as good, right? And you have to throw truther stuff in there, even though you talk about how bad conspiracy theories are, but there's always got to be conspiracies. And now you're going from these narratives because they're much more compelling and interesting to people. And so it's a big mess. Like these shows and movies are just a big mess because they're not, there's no, they're not based in any sort of reality. And they don't hang together. There's not even an imagined reality, right? It's just throwing different, different ideas and agendas against the wall and then trying to string it together with crappy dialogue, bad acting, forced jokes, and the rest of it. All right, let's get into the Jamie Foxx thing here. Jamie Foxx accused of being anti-Semitic after sharing controversial post about Jesus. He's in hot, holy water, and this is what he tweeted. They killed this dude named Jesus. What do you think they'll do to you? Fake friends, fake love. And they don't... he didn't necessarily say it was Jewish people. When I first read this, I didn't even think about that. It might have been. Obviously I can see why someone might think that. But I don't know if that's where he was going with that. One critic tweeted in response, "I am Jewish advocate who fights anti-Semitism. Jamie Foxx's post was horrifically anti-Semitic message rooted in the classic blood libel and anti-Jewish conspiracy theory. He has 16 million followers. I'm not waiting on him to further. I'm waiting on him to further expand." This was his original post. And again, he didn't specify Jewish people. That's the issue. This is speculation. Now, like I said, I didn't think about it at the time. I got a whole thing to do. I've been researching this stuff this morning because my wife was kind of aware of what went on with Palestine. And RFK Jr. just said some horrible stuff. Like it's just above and beyond what he should be saying against Palestinians, and like just stuff I know isn't true. Like just, it's not good for him. And I got to cover that tomorrow on my other channel. But I was, looking at some of this stuff that I used to know and I don't really cover these things. But again, this isn't necessarily means this. And so he came out and then said, James Foxx apologized after Fake's friend's Instagram post is called out for anti-Semitism. I only have love in my heart for everyone. Actor Jamie Foxx is setting the record straight after sharing what many considered to be an anti-Semitic message on Instagram. On Friday, Foxx posted a black square with the words, "They killed this dude named Jesus. What do you think they'll do to you?" Hashtag, we saw that already. And social media users came out and did all this stuff. And then he tweeted this: I want to apologize to the Jewish community and anyone who was offended by my post. I now know my choice of words have caused offense, and I'm sorry. That was never my intent, and why are you apologizing? Why are you apologizing? Now, it's a weird post, and it's cryptic, and it is whatever it is. But they, who is they? And if they is a Jewish people, there's no reason to apologize. Again, he's apologizing for not being clear about why he posted what he posted. To clarify, I was betrayed by fake friends, and that's what I meant by they, not anything more. So you were comparing yourself to Jesus. I only have love in my heart for everyone. I love and support the Jewish community. My deepest apologies to anyone who was offended. Nothing but always, Jamie Foxx. And so there's his Instagram. There's a lot there. Like, it's kind of a weird thing to post. He's got a raccoon and a cat there. In the first place, I don't know what his fake friends were or what it has to do with his illness and, the rest of it. And he still has to, come to terms with what did this to him. And if it was the boop, then he should say something. So this whole thing is weird. And it's odd that it's going on at the same time with the Kennedy thing, which I'll cover that tomorrow. Cavs guard Ricky Rubio says he's taking a break from basketball to focus on mental health. That's self-explanatory. This guy he started playing, I think, professional basketball when he was 14 or 15 in Spain. And he was supposed to be a sensation, and he became a pretty good player. Not a great player, point guard. But, it's the latest athlete to just not do what their job because of mental health. Infant myocarditis cases are spiking in the UK, but it's not because of the COVID. Boo! In the past, there's been noticeable buzz in social media regarding an increase in myocarditis cases in infants in the UK. Many have pointed fingers at the boo, thanks to the wave of misleading reports. But let's delve deeper and clarify the misconceptions. So there's been a spike in this, but it has nothing to do with something that, it looks like it has something to do with. Broadway actor who played Simba in The Lion King dies at 47. I thought somebody already died from The Lion King, but I guess it's a different guy. And it doesn't say his cause of death. Drone suspected of causing helicopter crash near Charleston, South Carolina. Here is Jacqueline Smith and Kate Jackson of Charlie's Angels. And what's happened to Jacqueline Smith's face? Right? Like does she get filler in her cheeks? She's completely ghouling it out, right? Look at the difference between her arm and her face. They probably even doctored this photo a little bit. So Mattel is releasing a weird Barbie based on the movie character played by Kate McKinnon. This sort of widely misses the point of who and what weird Barbies is, and also those blue jeans you can buy with the rips and tears already in them. It's like getting calf implants instead of lifting weights. So this is a Forbes magazine article about this new Barbie doll. And, it's apparently this smash hit. I don't know if I have it. I think I have it somewhere here. We'll see. My wife sent me something where men and women are breaking up over this movie. And here's the Kate McKinnon character right here. Is this Barbie really creepy and not funny when she tries to be funny? Does this Barbie give like creepy, weird impressions and jokes that aren't funny? And they have a built-in laugh track because Kate McKinnon was just not funny. Just a weird thing. The whole movie seems to be just like really woke. Hospital computer system in Texas hit by cyber attack. I won't bother reading this. Just the headline. Don't be alarmed. FCC and FEMA planning nationwide test. Well, that's going to happen. So FEMA and FCC are working together here for the wireless emergency alert system that goes to mobile devices. This is Billy Idol and Gary Newman. I mean, just like, what are they, like 4 foot? I mean, what? Like everybody in Hollywood just goes full ghoul after a while. This is cassowary eggs. Cassowary is a very interesting bird. I first saw one in the Washington, D.C. Zoo. They are about 5 foot tall, and they're huge legs, just big birds, like a total dinosaur. Interesting coloring, and I had no idea their eggs were like this. I have Richard Attenborough on my Facebook. Whenever I go, there's multiple posts from him, and he always has neat stuff. Staff at California tech firm that pays Prince Harry 7-figure salary turn on him as 100 of them are laid off. Workers say Royal is a distraction, and no one knows what he actually does. He's got the Hunter Biden deal. As one suggests, his responsibilities are zero things. Harry reportedly earned 7 figures as chief impact officer at Better Up. It says they claim that he's a distraction, and he's got no skills, right? And I guess here he is. He attends meetings and stuff, and at least he shows up for his job. That's better than Hunter Biden did. Okay, so this is a compilation. I broke up with my boyfriend because he called the Barbie movie offensive. Now he's disappeared after stealing all my food and my Dyson Airwrap. 23-year-old woman got unmatched. I got unmatched on Hinge after I told the guy that Barbie is an experience and Oppenheimer is just a film. The Barbie movie is ending relationships left and right. And, there's all these things. I broke up with my boyfriend after watching the Barbie film. It opened my eyes. Did anyone watch Barbie and suddenly want to break up with their boyfriend, or is it just me? Are you crying? You're just a guy, and you'll never understand how difficult it is to be a woman in a man's world. There's this attention to detail that a lot of men don't have. Woman dumps boyfriend over his bigoted reaction to Barbie movie. Okay, so one of my viewers sent me this. Here's the Grim Reaper and Doja Cat. I think I've covered her before because the name sounds familiar. She's a singer who I think has weird stuff in her videos. Look at this here. This is kind of creepy. There she is there. And then some kind of tusked devil-like creature here. She's on top of his head. They're going to paint the town red. A couple eyeballs hanging from the devil's horns. There she is with the Grim Reaper for some reason. There she is, her reflection with her having her own devil face there. There she is with devil's horns or somebody. It's just typical stuff here. There they are, a couple of devils. Look almost naked with bodysuits on. Just all this stuff here. Just real creepy. Is that some sort of a kid there? I guess that's her. Just with, it says feral there. She's got all that meat. Yeah, just, typical video stuff here. There they are together, the two devils, and there she is with the Grim Reaper, just all this stuff, right? This would be shocking 10 years ago. It's just so commonplace. Bill Crystal, famous neocon, not a lawyer, but isn't this pretty much straight out witness intimidation? If you go after me, I'm coming after you, Trump's truthed. He isn't. Trump isn't. Like, he hasn't gone after these people. And, he might say something in a speech or whatever. But as president, he didn't go after these people. And as former president, he didn't go after these people. And if he's president again, he's not going to go after them. I mean, this is just, he's just impotent. One of my viewers sent me this. I didn't even know what it was. I'm like, why, there's no context. Then I realized it said the root of all evil. I guess you can do that with a dollar bill. Madonna announces plans to reschedule tour dates after medical emergency. See you soon. Not if we see you first. Tori Spelling's friends, family concerned about the actress amid catastrophic split from Dean McDermott RV move. Well, she's got a bunch of kids there. She's got 5 kids. She made it on to the show. I mean, it wasn't like that show was full of great acting and stars and beautiful people. But she was the sort of unattractive, pig-looking one. She had sort of a face very similar to like Miss Piggy and an unpleasant personality. And she, was famous, and I guess she had a reality TV show, and she made a lot of money and came from a rich family. McDermott has been back in rehab. So her husband had to go to rehab, being married to her. She had a number of health breakdowns, and they had supposedly had mold in their family and family home, and now they're living in an RV. And so people are concerned. Angus Cloud's mother says son didn't intend to end his life. Lisa Cloud, is that their real name? Is there a Cloud as a name? Is that a legitimate name or just a made-up thing? Mother of late Euphoria star Angus Cloud said it was abundantly clear that her son did not intend to check out of this world following his death earlier this week. In a statement on Facebook, she said she was in deep grief. I guess there were things that might lead one to believe that he committed suicide, which, I think that's a very weird show, what I've seen from it. It's not, there he is there. It seems to be a very not good show. And so there's this. Team USA crashes at a Women's World Cup as Sweden wins on penalties. And Megan Rapinoe missed a penalty kick and laughed, and she's getting a lot of hate from the soccer community. Okay, so I'm going to switch over. I want to get into the Kennedy thing today. Today's Sunday, August 6th. And the Kennedy thing came up last night. Someone left a comment. And, some of his comments about Palestine that are just really bad. So I'm going to cover that tomorrow. But I'm going to start working on it now. It's raining out, so I've been sanding our truck. I've been working on getting our truck stripped of its former paint, and my wife and I are going to attempt to paint it. It's a little bit wet outside. I'll see if I can. We'll see what happens with that. And so mostly I can do another video, start my video for tomorrow. But I just wanted to say, tying into, and this video tomorrow is tying into what I covered today, a little bit with Jaime Foxx and the rest of it. But what I want to say here is that people are going to disappoint you. People who, you're going to disappoint yourself, right? And other people are going to disappoint you. It's a time where, more often than not, people end up taking the low road, or there's just weakness, and it's going to get worse and worse until there's some sort of collapse. But the system and everything, that's happening is more often than not going to go the wrong way. And even if you were anticipating something being, worse than you originally thought, or you felt like something or someone's going to disappoint you, they will, right? Like it's just, you're going to fall on the side of being disappointed. Part of it is we're in a phase where occasionally you can be hopeful about something. Something will give you hope. Something will seem to be panning out. This happened to me for, I would say, about, at least 18 years in my marriage to my ex, that things looked like they were going to turn around. There would be something that would be opening up, like looks like, when you're in a bad phase of life, you get into a rut or things go south on you. It's like you're facing bad luck. Eventually that ends. It should end. At least it's going to end sometime, maybe even with your death, but usually before that. Like you go through dark periods, you go through good periods, and eventually both end. And then, something else begins. But I went through a long period where it appeared that things were going to turn for the better. And there was a legitimate plan. There was a legitimate action. There was a legitimate, work that was being done. And it was like a door was opening and then would just slam close in our face as a family and me personally. It's frustrating to live through something like that. And you're going to experience a lot of that in the near future. But then there's going to be a lot of closing of doors that used to be open that we took for granted, that we didn't even know there was a door there. You think about like electricity and running water and being able to drive your car anywhere and airplane travel, things that we've had our whole life, TV and internet and all these things. And when those things disappear, we never thought they were going to disappear. We never thought, it wasn't even a question that we would have these things for the rest of our lives. And there's already been a bunch of things that have disappeared and that we never thought would have. I mean, they've redefined the idea of sexuality and gender and things like this. I mean, there's been these big changes, and there's going to be more because it's a collapsing system. And, I covered that here quite a bit. Health, young people having cardiac arrest, infants having cardiac arrest, their hearts just stopping and it becoming normal and whatever the reason is for it. It wasn't before. It didn't exist before, and now it's very prevalent. And, it's pervasive in society. And so there's going to be a lot more bad things and a lot less good things in the material world. And, the spiritual benefits really aren't available to most people because they don't really think about life that way. And so that's what we're dealing with here. And we see it in my, video coverage here. And it just seems to be getting worse, right? It gets more intense. And like just that Doja Cat video, it's not even a big deal. I mean, when you had a guy who was being straddled by the devil, and that even wasn't a big deal when that happened. When Lil Nas X gave the devil a lap dance, right? And, these things are being absorbed and seen by kids, and it's just all been normalized. And the damage is irreversible, like the stuff that's been done culturally, the things that have been done economically. There's no way of turning those things around. The COVID lockdown, these things, I'm going to talk about that more in my other video. But for now, I'm just going to wrap this thing up here. But we see it, there'll be more in 2 days, and there'll be more tomorrow on my other channel. And, it's going to keep on going on like that. Only spirituality will save this world. It's paramount, definitely important to the apocalypse and the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.